Two were also charged for membership of an illegal organisation styling itself the Irish Republican Army. The court was given evidence of the arrests. The court remanded all three in custody until March the 14th. Martina Fitzgerald, 14 News.
A woman has consented to have a caesarean section after Waterford Regional Hospital sought a High Court order to have the procedure carried out. Lawyers for the hospital told the court that a natural birth would have put the woman and her baby at risk. The mother, who cannot be named for legal reasons, had been refusing to consent to the procedure. There have been violent protests in Egypt following a court ruling which confirmed death sentences against 21 people involved in a deadly riot after a soccer match last year. More than 70 people were killed when fighting broke out after the game in Port Said in February 2012.
Trouble once again on the streets of Cairo. This time, football fans angry at today's court ruling. It all began at the end of this match last year between Cairo's Al Ahly team and the local Al Masry side in Port Said. Spectators were crushed when panicked crowds tried to escape after a pitch invasion by supporters of Al Masry. 74 people were killed. Today, listing the names of 21 people, mostly Port Said fans, the judge confirmed the death penalty by hanging. In a ruling shown live on television, the court also sentenced 5 more people to life in prison and acquitted 28 others, including 7 policemen. But this verdict has failed to diffuse tensions over the case. Suspected fans of Al Ahly club torched a police club in Cairo and Egypt's Soccer Federation headquarters. Unrest has also plagued Port Said. Since the original death sentences were first announced in January, violent riots have left around 40 people dead. This latest violence underlines how President Mohamed Morsi is still struggling to maintain law and order at a time of economic and political crisis in Egypt. Kate Egan, RTE News.
Rebels in southern Syria have freed 21 United Nations peacekeepers after holding them hostage for 4 days. The Filipino peacekeepers were abducted by one of the rebel groups operating in southern Syria near the Jordanian border and the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights. The UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon welcomed their release and called on all parties in Syria to respect the peacekeepers' freedom of movement. Kenya's Deputy Prime Minister, Uhuru Kenyatta, has been confirmed as the winner of the presidential election and has vowed to work with his rivals. Mr Kenyatta is set to face trial at the International Criminal Court over violence that followed the 2007 polls. It's understood he won just over 50% of the vote, narrowly avoiding a runoff. However, his main challenger has alleged massive fraud and said he will challenge the results in the Supreme Court. Nelson Mandela has been admitted to hospital in South Africa for routine tests. A South African government website said doctors have so far found no cause for concern. The former South African president, who is 94 years old, spent 18 days in hospital in December with a lung infection and gallstones. Back home, around 1,000 farmers held a demonstration outside the constituency office of Agriculture Minister Simon Coveney. They were protesting over EU proposals to reform the Common Agricultural Policy. The Irish Farmers Association says farmers could lose up to 40% of their cap payments.
The EU's Common Agricultural Policy is designed to ensure that farmers like these earn a fair income for producing the food to feed Europe's 500 million people. The cap is being renegotiated, and 80,000 of the country's most productive farmers fear they'll lose a combined €250 million as a result.
Currently we'll be looking at losing over €10,000 per year, and that's on top of having lost 8,000 with the reps payment over the last few years.
I'm totally dependent on sugar farming. If the current proposals go through, I stand to lose 40%, which is in the equivalent of about €5,000.
The Irish Farmers Association wants Agriculture Minister Simon Coveney to take a tougher stance against the European Commission's cap reform proposals.
The proposals on the table since the 25th of February, produced by Commissioner Scholz and by Minister Simon Coveney as President of the Council of Ministers, would devastate the income of thousands of Irish farmers.
Fiona Foyle says it wants a fairer system of distributing cap payments among all farmers.
There is a disproportionate amount of money going to the very top, very small number of farmers, and a lot of farmers, 70% of farmers, get less than €10,000 in single payment.
While Simon Coveney accepts that some farmers may suffer a reduction in payments, he says losses will go to support other Irish farmers.
It is fair to see some redistribution, but we need to manage that in a way that doesn't put productive farmers out of business, and in a way that actually gives farmers that need a higher payment to stay in business or to grow and expand that higher payment.
These disagreements relate to proposals to reform the Common Agricultural Policy, and it's important to remember that at the moment they are just that, proposals. And so there's a lot of negotiation and a lot of this to be done before any deal is likely to be struck. Pascal Sheehy, RTE News, Carrigaline, County Cork.
Figures published by the CAO show a big drop for the second year running in the number of students choosing to become teachers. Interest in science and technology is on the up, but applications for arts and social sciences courses are down again.
For Leaving Cert students, their choice of third-level course will be a big factor in their career path.
I've applied for science too, because I just heard there would be more jobs than going down the arts route.